and welcome to the course Foundation Engineering. Myself Preeti Singh Patel, Civil Department from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, Navsari. Today I start a new topic, retaining wall. Okay, so this topic is very important for civil engineering student because retaining wall is used to retain the soil in a different elevation. So in this condition we have to build the structure like retaining wall. That is why this topic is very important. Okay. Here is the list of contents which I am covering in this video lecture. First, introduction. What is a retaining wall? Types of retaining wall, force acting on the retaining wall, the design for a gravity retaining wall and for cantilever retaining wall, and last one is stability analysis for gravity retaining wall and cantilever retaining wall. So let's start with introduction. So first of all, what is retaining wall? A retaining wall is a structure used to retain the earth or soil or other material to maintain the ground surface at different elevation on either side of it. Okay, means the retaining wall is used to retain the soil into a different elevation on the both side is known as a retaining wall. Okay, so retaining wall provide a lateral support to a slope of soil and they retain soil such which would otherwise collapse into a more natural shape, and the retained soil is referred as a backfill. Okay, so in this figure you can see the retained soil is known as a backfill. Okay, this soil is known as a back soil or backfill. Okay, here is the image of retaining wall. Okay, so this retaining wall is used to retain the soil in different elevation. Okay, in this figure you can see here is the elevation. Backfill may be have its top surface or inclined surface, and the position of the backfill lying above the horizontal plane at the elevation of top of wall is called surcharge, and in inclination to the horizontal is called as a surcharge angle. Okay, so backfill may be its a horizontal surface or inclined surface. Okay, likewise, okay, if the backfill lying above the horizontal plane at the elevation of top of wall is called a surcharge, and the angle is known as surcharge angle. Okay, so this beta is your surcharge angle, and to release the pore water pressure developed in the backfill material, this okay, during rainy season, a weep hole, okay, a weep hole, likewise, weep hole is provided at the retaining wall. So next is the component of the retaining wall. So the main component of the retaining wall are the stem. So this portion of the retaining wall is known as stem. Next, toe slab, okay. This is your heel slab, counterfort or and shear key. Okay. Next, application of retaining wall. So the retaining wall used for the construction of basement below the ground level in building. Okay. If you want to construct the basement below the ground level, then we can use or then we can construct the retaining wall to retain the soil. Okay. For next application, the retaining wall is used for wing wall and abutment in bridge work as designed as a retaining wall. Next, to retain slope in hilly terrain roads. Okay. Next, as side walls of bridge approaches road, and last to provide lateral support to embankment. Okay. So retaining wall can be used for this type of application. Okay. Next, types of retaining walls. So retaining walls are classified according to the shape and mode of resisting the pressure, and the different types of the retaining wall are as follows. First, gravity retaining wall. Second, semi-gravity retaining wall, cantilever, counterfort, buttress, bridge abutment, and last one is box culvert. Okay. So let's start with gravity retaining wall. So the gravity wall resists the earth pressure exerted by a backfill by its own self weight or its dead load. Okay, so in gravity retaining wall, gravity wall resists the earth pressure which is exerted by backfill. Okay, from this backfill, okay, by its own self weight. Okay, its own self weight or dead load. Okay, it is usually built in a stone, masonry, or occasionally in plain concrete, and the plain concrete gravity walls are not used for height exceeding about 3 meter for obvious economy reason. Okay, so means the gravity retaining wall is used for a shorter height. Okay, next, semi-gravity retaining wall. So, semi-gravity wall resists external forces by the combined action of self-weight and weight of the soil above the footing and the flexural resistance of the wall component. Okay, in semi-gravity retaining wall, sometimes we use a reinforcement to resist this forces. Okay. Next, cantilever retaining wall. So this is the most common type of retaining structure, is usually used for up to height of 8 meter. Okay, its stability is maintained by the weight of the retaining wall and the weight of the earth on the heel. Okay, heel slab of the retaining wall, and it is generally used when the height of wall is much more or up to a 6 meter depth. Okay. So retaining cantilever retaining wall may be a L shape or a T shape. Okay. Here is the image of cantilever retaining wall. This is the image of L shape cantilever retaining wall, or this is the image of T-shaped cantilever retaining wall. Okay. In this figure, you can see how the cantilever retaining wall is constructed, where the V-pole is provided, reinforcement steel is provided, compacted backfill on the backside, and gravel backfill for drainage purpose. Okay, so this figure shows how the cantilever retaining wall is constructed with different components of retaining wall. Next, counterfort retaining wall. So in the counterfort retaining wall, the stem and the base slab are tied together by a counterforts. Okay, so this is your counterforts at a suitable interval. Because of provision of counterforts, the vertical stem as well as the heel slab, this your heel slab, act as a continuous slab, in contrast to the cantilever of cantilever retaining wall. Okay, and the toe slab, however, act as a cantilever bending upward. This wall is economical for height above approximately 7 meter. Okay. Next, buttress wall. So a buttress wall is a modification of the counterfort retaining wall, in which the counterfort called the buttress are provided in other side of the backfill. Okay. So a buttress wall is more economical than the counterfort retaining wall. However, the buttress reduce the clearance in front of the wall, and therefore these walls are not commonly used. Okay. So in buttress wall, the buttress act as a compression member to support the vertical wall and reduce bending movement in it. And it is also provide support to the toe slab and reducing bending movement in it. Okay. Here is the actual image of buttress wall. This is your buttress. Okay. At regular or suitable intervals. Next, bridge abutment. So a wall type bridge abutment is similar to the cantilever retaining wall. In addition, the top of stem of retaining wall is braced by a deck slab for bridge. Okay, and the stem can be designed as fixed at base and simply supported at top. Okay. Next, box culvert. A box culvert acts as a closed rigid frame, and it consists of either a single or a multiple cell. In addition to a lateral earth pressure resists the vertical load from soil above it, also vehicle load. Next, force acting on a retaining wall. So there are two forces acting on the retaining wall, lateral forces and horizontal forces, and second one is vertical forces. So lateral forces or horizontal forces act due to a backfill and the surcharge. Okay. So in the retaining wall, due to a backfill and surcharge, the lateral forces acting on the retaining wall. Second forces are the vertical forces. Vertical forces are acting in two directions, downward direction and upward direction. So in downward direction, the self weight of the retaining wall, which is W1, and the weight of the soil above base slab. Okay. And vertical forces acting upward direction, so it is due to the soil pressure underneath the base slab. Okay. So below the base slab, the soil pressure is uh, acting up. Next theory is Rankine theory. Okay. So Rankine gave some assumptions for his theory. Before the analysis part, we have to understand what are the assumptions of Rankine theory. So he said the soil mass is semi-infinite, homogeneous, dry and cohesionless soil. Okay. Next, the ground surface is plane, which may be a horizontal or inclined. Okay. And the back of the wall is vertical and smooth. No shearing stress are developed between the wall and soil. And last, the wall yield about the base and satisfy the deformation condition for plastic equilibrium. Okay. So these are the assumptions for Rankine theory. And the Rankine gave a theory for a cohesionless soil by different cases. Okay. For cohesionless soil backfill for different cases. First cases is dry or moist backfill with no surcharge. Second, submerged backfill. Third, backfill with uniform surcharge. Fourth, backfill with sloping. So first case or first condition is dry or moist backfill without any surcharge. Okay. So here is the equation for dry or moist backfill, Pa, Ka, gamma H, where Pa is the intensity of active earth pressure trying to move the wall away from the wall. Okay. So before the actual design, the soil parameter that influence the earth pressure and the bearing capacity of the soil must be evaluated. Okay. So these include the unit weight of the soil and the angle of shear resistance and the cohesion intercept and the angle of wall friction. Knowing these parameters, the lateral earth pressure and the bearing capacity of the soil can be determined. Okay. So method for the computation of the earth pressure is here. So Pa is the intensity of active earth pressure trying to move the wall away from the wall. K is the coefficient of active earth pressure, which is determined by this equation 1 minus sine phi 1 plus k sine phi, where phi angle of shear resistance or angle of friction for the backfill, gamma is the unit weight of the soil, and h is the height of the retaining wall. Okay, for this condition we can find out the earth pressure by this equation. So here the active force, which is Pa, is horizontal and can be calculated by this equation 1 by 2 gamma h square k. Okay, where k is the active earth pressure, h is the height of the retaining wall. In this figure you can see h is the height and gamma is the unit weight of soil. Okay, this active force is acting at a 1/3 or h/3 of the height of the retaining wall. Okay, and if we draw the pressure diagram should be like that. Okay, and the distance of this is determined by this equation Ka gamma h. Okay, this. Okay, for first condition and for second condition. Next case is when the backfill is partially submerged. So if the backfill is partially submerged, the lateral pressure intensity at the base of the wall is given by this equation. Okay, Ka gamma H1, Ka gamma dash H2 plus gamma W H2. Okay. So H1 is the height of the moist soil, H2 is the height of the saturated soil, H is the height of the retaining wall. Okay, here is your water table. So pressure diagram should be like that. Okay, so this distance is determined by this equation, this distance by this, and this by this. Okay. Next condition, backfill with uniform surcharge. Okay, if the backfill is horizontal and carries surcharge of uniform intensity, which is Q per unit area, the vertical pressure increment at any depth H will increase by Q. Okay, and the increase in the lateral pressure at any depth is given by this equation, PA K gamma H plus KA Q, where K is the active earth pressure, gamma is the unit weight of the soil, H is the height, K is the again active earth pressure, and Q is the uniform intensity of surcharge. Okay, at the base of the wall, the pressure intensity is this. Okay, so here's the figure, backfill with uniform surcharge. Okay, so if the uniform surcharge is applied, the pressure diagram should be like that, and the distance is calculated by this equation. This distance by KQ and this KA gamma H. Okay, and the intensity of uniform surcharge is denoted by ZE. Okay. So the height of fill ZE equivalent to the uniform surcharge intensity is given by or determined by this equation. This means that the effect of the surcharge of intensity Q is same as that of fill of height Z above the ground surface. Next condition, backfill with sloping surface, okay, where beta is the inclination of sloping surface behind the wall with the horizontal, which is also known as surcharge angle. Okay, H is the height of the retaining wall. Okay, and the pressure diagram should be like that, and this distance is calculated by this K gamma H. Okay, condition, backfill with sloping surcharge, the intensity of the lateral earth pressure on the retaining wall is calculated by this PA gamma is PA is equal to gamma H cos beta minus under root cos beta square plus cos phi square. Okay, where beta is the surcharge angle, okay, or inclination angle, phi is the friction angle. Okay, or equation can be written by this, where K A is this. Last case, backfill with sloping surface. Okay, so the pressure acts parallel to the sloping surface of the surcharge at beta with the horizontal, and the total active pressure, which is PA for the wall of the height H, is given by this equation, which I already discussed in previous slides, and the resultant acting H third above the base of the retaining wall in direction parallel to the surcharge, when beta means angle of inclination or surcharge is 0, where that is horizontal ground surface, then K is determined by this. Okay, so next, inclined back and surcharge. So note that the force PA is inclined with angle beta and not dependent on the inclination of the wall, because the force applied on the vertical line can be calculated as follow: P is equal to P1 square plus W square under root, where P1 is determined by this equation. Next topic, forces acting on a gravity retaining wall. So this figure shows a retaining wall with a smooth inclined back with a surcharge. The active pressure acts horizontally, and the front face of the wall is subject to a passive pressure below the passive pressure. Okay, and however, it is doubtful whether the full passive resistance would develop. More often, passive pressure is small and therefore it may be neglected. This gives more conservative design. Okay, W is the weight of the wall and the PA is the active earth pressure, have their resultant R. Okay. Okay. So this is the image of forces acting on a. So for the design criteria for the gravity retaining wall are the base width, which is B, of the wall must be such that the maximum pressure exerted on the foundation soil does not exceed the safe bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, means the base width of the wall should be like that the maximum pressure exerted on the foundation soil does not exceed the safe bearing capacity of the soil. Okay. Next, the no tension should be developed anywhere in the wall. Third, the wall must be safe against sliding and the wall must be safe against overturning. Okay. So for the designing of gravity retaining wall, this parameter should be satisfied. Okay. Where W is the weight of the wall per unit weight, PA is the total active earth pressure, PP is the total passive earth pressure, and R is the resultant of all forces, and X is the distance of resultant from toe. Okay. Summation M is the sum of moment of all equating forces equating, and summation V is the sum of all vertical forces. If the eccentricity is used, then it can be determined by this E is equal to B by 2 X, where B is the base width of wall. Next, stability criteria, stability conditions. A retaining wall must be stable as a whole and it must have sufficient strength to resist all the forces acting on it. Okay. So in order that the wall may be stable, the following conditions should be satisfied. First, the wall must be strong enough to resist the bending stress and the shear forces. Second, the wall should not overturn. Third, the maximum pressure at base should not exceed the safe bearing capacity of the soil and the wall should not slide due to a lateral pressure. Okay. So these are the stability condition for any retaining wall. It should. So first stability check. So no, first stability check is no sliding. Okay. So the wall must be safe against sliding. In other words, the resisting forces and the sliding forces must be equal. Okay, where RH is the RH and RV is the vertical and horizontal component of resultant or R respectively, and the factor of safety against the sliding is given by this, okay, which is restoring forces divided by sliding forces. Okay, so a minimum factor of safety for a no sliding is taken as 1.5 against sliding. Okay, it is generally recommended. Okay, where mu is the coefficient of friction between base of the wall and the foundation soil. Next criteria, no overturning. So the wall must be safe against overturning about toe, and the factor of safety against overturning is given by this equation, which is sum of restoring moment at toe divided by sum of overturning moment at toe. Okay, where summation of MR is the sum of restoring moment at toe and summation M naught is the overturning moment at toe. Okay, and the factor of safety against overturning is usually kept between a 1.5 to 2 and should be greater than the 1.5. Okay. Next, no tension. Sorry. There should be a no tension at the base of the fall when the eccentricity E, which is E, is greater than B by 6, the tension developed at the heel. Okay, so tension is not desirable. Okay, so the tensile strength of the soil is very small and the tensile crack would develop. Okay, so for no tension is wall eccentricity should not be exceed by B by 6. Okay, where sigma max is determined at a toe by this equation or at a heel is determined by this. Okay, there are three conditions for no tension. First is E is less than B by 6, the stress anywhere on the base of the wall is compressive. Okay. If the E, which is eccentricity, is equal to B by 6, the stress anywhere in the base of the wall is compressive with its value at the heel equal to 0. Okay. Third case is, or third condition is, BE is more than B by 6, means the tensile stress is developed at the heel and compressive stress is developed at toe. Last criteria is check for bearing capacity failure. So the pressure causes by a resultant of vertical at the toe of the wall must not exceed the allowable bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, and the pressure distribution at the base is assumed to be a linear. Okay, and the maximum pressure, which is P max at the base of the wall, should not exceed the allowable bearing capacity, and the factor of safety is determined by this equation where Q is the allowable bearing capacity and P max is the maximum pressure. Okay. For a no bearing capacity failure, a factor of safety is 3 is usually specified, provided the settlement is also within the allowable limit or permissible limit and tolerable limit. So today I stop here. Okay. In next lecture, I will discuss about the remaining portion of the retaining wall. Thank you.